Brian, 3 weeks after finishing the Vendee Globe, how does it feel to be back in the real world?
It's great to be back on the island, and I've slipped seamlessly back into normal life, it seems.
So you finished in 5th place and 2nd Brit. If somebody had offered you that position before the start, would you have taken it?
I think I would have taken that. Yeah, I think my goal was to finish a race and come in the top 5. So I'm very happy to have done both those things. Yeah.
So let's go back to the start and that first 24 hours, which was, pretty enormous. How was it?
It was, a bit of a sort of trial by fire at the beginning. I mean, straight out of the harbour entrance into sort of 10-foot waves, and then the race started at say 20 knots, and it just built steadily through the night to 40 knots, so down to staysail and 3 reefs quite quickly, and I had a few issues where the boat auto-tacked, and then of course you're heeling over about 80 degrees with everything the wrong side, so that was interesting in the middle of the night. So that gets you all warmed up, ready for the Vendee.
So that first phase, the Atlantic phase, did you feel competitive?
Yeah, there was a few things. The first few nights I had something around my keel, the second night in fact, which slowed me down quite a bit. And then I think about the 4th night I blew my main downwind sail, with Cuban fibre sail, and that fell in the water. I had to pick that up, and it slowed me down a little bit. But no, I felt quite competitive, and having a good race with some top boats.
When did the gear problems start?
About halfway around the race it started to accelerate, and pretty much from there on, every day I was fixing something important, whether it was charging, structural, keel. It was pretty relentless from then. But I think had I done a few more races beforehand and pushed the boat that hard, those things would have come to light quite early and wouldn't have been that hard to solve. Did
your focus change then from sort of full-on competitive racing to getting the boat home and finishing?
Yeah, no, very much so. But I had inherited quite a good position by that time. I was up in the top 10 by halfway, and I just kept on going, and other people just unfortunately had to stop, and then I kept moving up the ladder. And once I got to 5th, I was very keen to hold on to that. And I had a late charge from Dee Kafari, who I was quite close to, really, from New Zealand to the finish. I'd get ahead, and then she'd catch up, and at the finish she was in one of her catch-up modes, and there's only about 60 miles between us at the end.
I heard you describe it shortly after the finish as more of an adventure than a race. What did you mean by that?
It's a really tough challenge to do, and I've done lots of different races, bits of Volvo, trimaran sailing, maxi multi-hulls, and they all felt like a race. But this really was had a big adventure element to it, to getting round. I didn't realise what a massive challenge it would be just to finish.
Do you think you never really had the chance to show what the boat's capable of?
No, I think there's more left in the boat, definitely. And no, I'd really like to do a few tweaks, get to know it better, and I think you can achieve some top results.
So was it really down to just lack of preparation time?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, lack of time. In the Southern Ocean, the boat's always going to be better reaching and beating than running. So it was always going to be a matter of just trying to keep up in the Southern Ocean. And that's always going to be a problem with a boat that's sort of a couple of tons heavier than the other ones. But no, I'd definitely do it again on the same boat, do a few mods to it, and to stack things more aft and make it a little quicker in the Southern Ocean.
I mean, it has been described as the most radical Open 60. How much more performance is there to get out of that?
Yeah, well, it has to be found out, really. The more racing we'll do, the faster it'll go. The more testing, the faster it'll go too.
Why does it make such a difference to have had the experience of racing on the edge in a big multi-hull when you transfer to an Open 60?
You have to have very good procedures on a big multi-hull. You can't really make any mistakes. If you take a reef, it's all got to be very organised and methodical, and so that helps with the Open 60, because not many things can you wrestle by hand. So you have to really do it intelligently with ropes and winches and blocks and tackle. And the other thing I think is just the simple thing of just getting used to the numbers on the boat speed. If you're happy going along at 25, 30 knots on the maxi multi-hull and feel comfortable doing that, you won't be worried about doing 18, 19, 20, 25, surfing to 30 in a monohull.
You know, when we talk about high speeds, people think just about the speed. They don't think about sort of the environment in terms of noise. It must be incredibly noisy on those boats. Yeah,
you do get used to it, but there's all noises and creaks and groans from the boat and clatters from the steering gear, and it's you know, pretty full on. The water cascade, you can hear the water cascading over the deck and running into the cockpit all the time. It's like you're inside a stream the whole time.
So what about upwind? That must be even worse in those boats.
It's pretty uncomfortable, especially when you've been sailing downwind for a while. Suddenly you're heeling right over, and you're more likely to get injured down below than you are on deck, you know, because it's such a big space down below, and you can fall a long way.
Okay, biggest ever entry in the race, but also the biggest fallout. Only 30% of boats finished. Is that acceptable, do you think?
Well, the weather was really tough on this race, tougher than certainly the last two Vendees, and then the boats are really pushing hard to go and win.
Now this race has seen 4 Brits in the top 8. You know, what do you think that means for British single-handed sailing?
Oh, it's very good news. I think it's going to encourage a lot of other people to come into the sport. I mean, for all the youngsters who say, well, what kind of sailing do I want to specialise in? And some of them might say, well, you know, Olympics not really for me. I like travelling. I like the adventure, and some very good sailors in the future will probably see what happened this race, and I want a sort of piece of that.
You were supporting Earthwatch during the race. You know, what did you take out of that?
Well, that was a really good partnership, because they've recently started an oceans project where they've done a lot of things on the land, doing studies of mountains, wildlife, but now they're concentrating on reefs and the health of the sea, and that was very good to be able to give them some feedback on what I saw on the trip, and they would write back and say, well, that was probably this kind of albatross. Or
did you notice any differences this time around to your previous trips in terms of wildlife?
The only dolphins I saw were in the Bay of Biscay at the start. Really, I didn't see any the rest of the time. The other trips I've done, I've probably seen more wildlife. Probably less sort of sea life under the water, more birds, and not too much pollution. Actually, I was quite impressed with that.
That's good news.
Yeah.
So you're home. You finished the race. What are your plans now, both for you and for the boat?
Well, it's great to be back and spend time with the family, make up for all the time that I was away. And I'm really looking forward to going out to Bahrain in a few weeks and meet everyone out there because they really followed the race closely, and then make a plan for this year to carry on racing the 60 in the Imoca circuit. Yeah.
Excellent. We wish you lots of luck, and we look forward to seeing the boat do even better in the next races.
Yeah. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.